Every history book tells the same story. Cleopatra, the last queen of Egypt, died by the bite of a snake. Case closed. But here is the problem. Cleopatra was not just a queen. She was the most politically brilliant woman of the ancient world. She spoke 9 languages. She outmaneuvered kings, generals, and emperors. She survived civil wars, betrayals, and assassination attempts. And we are supposed to believe she gave up with a snake in a basket. Here is one detail historians still cannot explain. No snake was ever found. Not in the room, not in the basket, not anywhere. Tonight, the ChronoCase file is open because the official story has a problem. Several of them. Before we talk about her death, we need to understand who she actually was, because history did something cruel to Cleopatra. It remembered her beauty and forgot her mind. Cleopatra VII was not Egyptian by blood. She was Macedonian Greek, a descendant of Ptolemy, one of Alexander the Great's generals. Her family had ruled Egypt for nearly 300 years. But here is the extraordinary part. She was the first ruler in her entire dynasty to actually learn the Egyptian language, 3 centuries, and nobody bothered. Cleopatra did. She also spoke Greek, Latin, Ethiopian, Hebrew, Aramaic, and several others, 9 languages total. She studied mathematics, astronomy, philosophy, and economics. Ancient sources describe her as someone you could not stop listening to, not because of how she looked, because of how she thought. She became queen at 18, survived being exiled by her own brother, smuggled herself into Julius Caesar's palace, wrapped in a carpet according to legend, and within hours convinced the most powerful man in Rome to support her claim to the throne. That is not luck. That is genius. She ruled Egypt for 21 years, formed powerful alliances with Caesar, then, after Caesar's assassination, with Mark Antony. She was building something, an empire of her own, and then everything collapsed. To understand Cleopatra's death, you need to understand one man, Octavian, later known as Augustus Caesar, Caesar's adopted heir, young, cold, calculating. Octavian never raised his voice. He never needed to. Cleopatra and Mark Antony had built a powerful alliance in the East. They had armies, they had resources, they had Egypt's legendary wealth. But Octavian had something more dangerous. He had Rome's narrative. He convinced the Roman Senate that Antony had been bewitched by a foreign queen, that Cleopatra was not an ally, she was a threat, an Eastern seductress trying to conquer Rome from the inside. It was propaganda, but it worked. In 31 BC, the 2 sides met at the Battle of Actium. Cleopatra and Antony's combined fleet faced Octavian's forces, and something went wrong. Cleopatra's ships withdrew. Antony followed. To this day, historians debate why. Was it a strategic retreat, a miscommunication, or had Octavian already made a secret deal with Cleopatra's commanders? Nobody knows for certain. But the result was catastrophic. Their forces collapsed. Octavian marched toward Egypt, and the most powerful couple in the ancient world had nowhere left to run. Here is where it gets strange. August 30 BC, Alexandria, Egypt. Mark Antony received false information. He was told Cleopatra was already dead. He stabbed himself. He was wrong. She was alive. He died in her arms. Now, Cleopatra was alone. Octavian entered Alexandria. He met with Cleopatra personally. And here is the part the official story skips past very quickly. They negotiated. Cleopatra tried to secure the future of her children. She tried to maintain control of Egypt. Octavian made promises, vague ones. Then something shifted. Cleopatra discovered the truth. Octavian was not planning to let her rule. He was planning to take her to Rome, as a prisoner, as a trophy, to parade through the streets in chains, a public humiliation for the queen who had defied Rome. At this moment, according to official history, Cleopatra made her decision. She bathed, she dressed in her royal robes, she ate a last meal, and she died. From the bite of an asp, a small Egyptian cobra smuggled into her chamber in a basket of figs. That is the story. But here is what the evidence actually shows. The investigation begins. Problem 1. No snake was found. Roman soldiers rushed into Cleopatra's chamber moments after her death. They searched the room. No snake, no bite marks that matched an asp. The ancient historian Plutarch, one of our primary sources, admits this directly. He says nobody was certain how she died. He was writing about it 150 years after the event. Problem 2. The snake story was politically convenient for Octavian. An asp, the Egyptian cobra, was a sacred symbol of Egyptian royalty. Dying by an asp could be interpreted as a divine royal death, a queen choosing to die like a goddess, not as a prisoner, not in chains. This story made Cleopatra look defeated but dignified. And, more importantly, it made Octavian look merciful. He did not kill the queen, she killed herself. What a coincidence that the story serving Octavian's reputation perfectly is also the official version. Problem 3. The timing. Cleopatra died just days before Octavian's planned departure for Rome. She was his most valuable trophy. Her presence in his triumphal parade would have cemented his status as Rome's supreme ruler, but she died right before he needed her. Some historians find this timing suspicious, very suspicious. Problem 4. Octavian had motive, means, and opportunity. He controlled her guards, he controlled access to her chamber, he controlled the narrative afterward. Ancient sources loyal to Octavian wrote the history we still read today. The losing side rarely gets to tell its own story. So, what actually happened? Theory 1. Suicide, but not a snake. Some modern scholars believe Cleopatra died by poison, a fast-acting toxin administered by herself or a loyal servant. The snake story may have been a cover, a more dignified explanation constructed after the fact. Theory 2. Octavian had her killed. He needed her dead. A living Cleopatra was a political problem. If she escaped, she could rally Eastern forces. If she converted Roman opinion, she became dangerous. Dead, she was a story he could control. He simply could not kill her publicly. A quiet death in her chamber, with a convenient explanation, solved everything. Theory 3. A combination. Perhaps Cleopatra intended to die. Perhaps Octavian intended to let her, or help her. Their interests aligned. She avoided humiliation. He avoided a complicated prisoner. History recorded the version that suited everyone, except Cleopatra. Here is what we know for certain. Cleopatra died on August 12, 30 BC. She was 39 years old. Octavian went on to become Augustus, Rome's first emperor. He displayed a statue of Cleopatra in his triumphal procession, not a living queen, a statue, a controlled image, a woman he could finally manage. Her children were taken to Rome, her dynasty ended, Egypt became a Roman province, and the story of her death, written by the people who benefited from her silence. Was it suicide? Was it murder? Was it a quiet agreement between two people who both needed her gone? The evidence does not give us certainty, but it gives us doubt, and doubt is exactly what history's official version cannot afford. The most dangerous weapon was never poison. It was the story they told afterward. The ChronoCase file on Cleopatra is still open. If this investigation made you think differently, subscribe, because history is rarely what it seems, and some cases are never truly closed.